everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up, so as per usual, let's just jump into some statistics. So in January I ended up reading 4 books, which is less than I wanted to read, but I'm still on track with my reading challenge, so that's fine. The genres that I read from this month is 1 fantasy, 1 contemporary romance, 1 classic, and 1 nonfiction book. There was 1 3-star, 2 4-stars, and 1 5-star read. 3 of them were from the library, and 1 of them was a book I already owned. 2 of them were YA, and 2 of them were adult. All 4 of them were read physically, and as far as the years, there is a 2012, 2019, 1922, and 1996. Overall, I'd say it was a pretty good reading month as far as all the ratings, and I feel like it was also pretty diverse in the genres and the age ranges and all of that, so I was actually pretty happy with January as a reading month. Starting off with the first book I finished in January, I didn't actually start this book in January, I started it in December, and I really wanted to finish it before the new year because I really like to start the new year as like a clean slate and like pick up a book on the first day to start, but alas, there are actually 2 books in this wrap-up that I started in December and didn't finish until January. I'm very disappointed about that, but let's move on. So the first book that I finished was My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick. This is the contemporary romance that I read. It is a YA. Before I tell you the plot of this book, I'm just going to say that this wasn't a super memorable book for me, so I can't remember a lot of the plot, but I'm going to try my best. So basically in this book we follow our main girl called Samantha, and her mom is like a politician in the town, and she's like a very proper woman and likes things to look nice and be done a certain way, and next door to them lives this other family that have a ton of kids. They seem to always be having kids, and they're always outside and being noisy, and their yard's a mess, and her mom really doesn't like this family, but then she ends up forming a relationship with the boy next door. So overall, this was a pretty cute story. I don't want to say it's a bad book, it just wasn't super memorable for me. I think this book's strongest point was the romance because it was just really cute and I really liked that part of the story. However, there were a lot of other like plot points and like plot subplots and all of that jazz, and that is where the book kind of lost me because I wasn't super interested in those other little plots, and a lot of them were actually kind of unrealistic, and they led into the ending, which the ending was way too fast and also unrealistic for me, so that was kind of a bummer. But overall, I don't think this was a bad book, and I still would recommend it if you like just like a cute contemporary romance book to pick up in like the spring or the summertime. So yeah, this is my first read of January. Next book I picked up was In an Absent Dream by Shauna Maguire. This is the 4th book, I believe, in the Wayward Children series, which is basically a series of books about these children or teenagers now who have gone through portals into other worlds like Wonderland or Narnia, and then they have come back into our world and they have trouble coping with being back in this world and they want to get back to their other world. So there is this kind of school that the children go to where they can either cope with the fact that they're probably not going to get back to that other world or wait for their door to open again so that they can go back. So each book in the series, like I said, I think this is the 4th one, so every other book it seems is like in the current timeline, and then every other book is like a prequel sort of where we follow the children when they go to these other worlds. So in this book we're following Lundy, I think was her name, from the 1st book, so this is her like prequel story. I really enjoyed this book. I actually wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it because the 1st book in the series, Every Heart a Doorway, was my favorite. Like I gave that 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely loved it. It will be my favorite in the series probably forever. And then I read the 2nd book and I did not like that book as much, and that was one of the prequel ones. Then I read the 3rd one, which I enjoyed a little bit more but quite not as much, and then we got to this one, so I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about it because I had been so iffy about the other 2. And also, Lundy was not my favorite character in the 1st book, so I just wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this book, but I actually ended up really enjoying it, and I feel like this made me appreciate Lundy's character a lot more and just understand her more, and I really liked the world building that Shauna Maguire did in this. I don't think I liked the other worlds that we went to in the previous books quite as much, but I really enjoyed this one. I found it really interesting, and as per usual, Shauna Maguire's writing is just absolutely amazing. So overall, I would totally recommend this series. I'm currently waiting for the 5th book to come in at my library, but there are like so many holds on it that I don't know when I'm ever going to get around to reading it, so I might have to just go out and buy it because I really want to read the next book. The next book I picked up in January was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is a classic book that I feel like a lot of people are going to already know about and like know the plot of it, but I did not know the plot of this book until I read it just like a week ago. So turns out this book is, just in case you don't know, is about the life of Benjamin Button, and basically when he was born as a really old man, and then as he gets older his body starts aging backwards and he starts getting younger. So this book is not very long at all. I think it's like 52 pages, so I read it in about an hour and I actually really enjoyed it. It was just like a short little interesting story that's thought-provoking, and I was kind of surprised I enjoyed this one as well because I read The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald and I did not enjoy that book quite as much, and I feel like that is one of his more beloved stories or more well-known stories, so I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this, but I actually really enjoyed it and I would definitely recommend this if you just want a quick little read. And then the final book I finished in January was the other one that was left over from December, and that is Love, Lucy by Lucille Ball. I just absolutely loved this book. I have no idea why it took me so long to finish it. It took me almost 2 months to read this book, but I absolutely adored it. 5 out of 5 stars all the way, and I might be a little bit biased because I'm such a big fan of Lucille Ball, but I just don't have enough good things to say about this story. So if you don't know, this is Lucille Ball's memoir / autobiography, and the way that this book actually came about was that she did kind of like a, well, I can't remember what the word for it is, but it's like where she either recorded herself telling the story or just told it to somebody else and they like actually wrote it down, but it's in her own words, and then she never actually ended up having it published. So after she passed away, her daughter was going through like all of her stuff and ended up finding this manuscript that was never published, and then it was published and turned into this book. And yeah, I just absolutely loved it. There were so many things in here that I did not know about her life, and I thought I knew, but I did not. There's also amazing pictures in here that I had a blast looking through. I just love it so much. This is what the back of the book looks like, if that's any indication of how good this book is. So yeah, as you can tell, no comprehensive thoughts are really coming out, so just know that I loved this book and would highly recommend it to everybody. So yeah, those are the 4 books that I read in January. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I'd love to discuss them with you in the comments. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye! Ow!
You hear that, Samson?